When we wake up to the self, we realize that the real world is our inner being, right? So we switch our focus from what we think is a real world, which is the outer being, right? Which is the ego, which is the outer physical world. We believe that that's our real world. But when you wake up to yourself, you realize that your real world is your inner world, right? So in order to make that shift, you have to take the value that you have on what you consider the real world and switch it towards the inner world, right? So that requires detachment. And not a detachment meaning that you deny the existence of the physical world. The outer world is not real in the sense that it is constructed on a false reality from which is the ego, right? And the ego is opposed to our inner nature because it's separated from our inner nature. So it goes against what God created our inner nature are, the joy, peace, and love, and it's separated and created in fear and everything that extends from fear, right? And then that's presented in our outside world. So in order to get to know the self, when you start to wake up to your actual self, you're switching that focus to your inner world because you know that is the truth of your actual being, is the world that God created within you. You begin to perceive life through your inner perceptions over your outer perceptions, over what you see or what you feel from your ego, right? You begin to perceive life from your inner perceptions, from your intuition, from your inner knowledge, right? That you seek, that is one with God, right? So that means that a detachment has to take place. You can no longer value the things of the world as you once did because the world is temporary, right? It's everything in the world is temporary. So you have to detach yourself from people, places, and things because you have to make room for your specific journey within this world. People misinterpret the concept of detachment and think it's like somebody being cold and somebody having to shut down their feelings and shut down who they are. When actually detachment is expansion. It's expansion of who you are. It's expansion of your understanding of life and understanding of people, places, and things, even though you have to let go of a lot of people, places, and things, right? When you're detaching from things, people, places, and things, you're only detaching from the physical, right? You're not detaching from the spiritual. So when you have to detach from a person, right? And you no longer can have a relationship like you once did with that person in the physical. You're not detaching from your inner relationship with that being. You're not detaching from who they truly are. What you're doing is detaching from that physical person, right? You're not detaching from the spiritual person. You're detaching from the physical. And since people identify so much with their physical, it seems like you're being a cold person. So you're not loyal. You're fake. You're cold. You're distant. When that's not true. That's not true. You just no longer value the things that are temporary, right? And the things of this earth. And sometimes you're not in alignment with people that you've once been in alignment with, right? And that's okay. And the reason why that you can detach from them, or it becomes easier and easier to detach from people, is because you realize y'all are not on the same journey. This is a learning ground, right? And you have to make room for your specific journey. And if you're caught up in things that held you back in the past, or if you come to realize that this person didn't want the best for you in the first place, but you hold on to them out of loyalty because you've always been their friend or you've always been their family, then that's going to hold you back on your personal journey because you're not going to be able to move forward with that type of energy attached to you. The energies of this earth are lower vibrational, and when you hold on to lower vibrational energy, you can't get into that higher vibrational energy, which is your alignment with the divine, right? Your alignment with the divine is bringing you into a higher vibration, because we are all electromagnetic beings, right? We're all energy. We're all just energy. So when we cling on to the old and don't let new energy in, we're holding ourselves back. When you detach from people, you don't detach from the love that you have for that person. You accept that person, you love that person, you understand where they are, right? But you might not be able to be in a relationship with that person anymore. And that doesn't mean that you love them any less. And that doesn't mean that it's not hard to detach, because initially it is, right? Initially it's very hard to detach from somebody that you love in the physical. And initially you're going to grieve it, right? But then you realize, when you wake up, you understand that I'm not actually separating myself from this person, right? It seems like in the physical, because this is what has to be done in the physical, but I still love this person. I'm still energetically connected to this person. You're not energetically connected to their ego anymore. You're not energetically connected to maybe their story within this lifetime, but there's an energetic connection between the two of you. That love between you and that person continues to live, right? Even if you can't live out your life with this person, even if you no longer can have a relationship in the 3D with this person. And that comes from many reasons, but when you start to wake up, you start to see those reasons, right? Maybe before you've been in a cycle that you've experienced over and over with certain people around you, right? And then you wake up and you start to see certain things. As I'm starting to get to know myself, as I'm starting to grow, as I'm starting to love myself, you realize, oh, this person is not really supportive of that. This person was more comfortable when I was in a lower state of being. This person was more comfortable when I hated myself. This person was more comfortable when I didn't understand who I was. Then you realize that this person didn't really want the best for me in the first place, right? And that's definitely just their ego talking. This is their insecurities talking. But since when we're not awake, we're living through that ego, right? We have to let go of communicating with people's ego. And if people choose to be within their ego, then you have to let go of that person. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't mean that you're like, oh, fuck that person, and I'm never going to talk. it's maybe I'm never gonna talk to you again, but it's not out of hate and it's not out of malice. It's out of necessity. It's out of understanding who you truly are. It's out of self-love, really, right? If somebody never really wanted the best for you, no matter who it is, then you detach from that person, you know? And it's sometimes people closest to you that prey on your downfall. When you're getting into a higher state of being, there's always going to be lower entities, lower energies that are going to pull at you. You know what I'm saying? And those lower energies attach to people, right? And it'll be the people closest to you, because they're in the lower. If they're in that frequency, they're going to allow their energy to attach to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to pull you down with it. So it's necessary to know that they're also on a journey, right? They're also protected by the divine. They're also safe in their being, you know? So it's not up to you. So your loyalty is not to just blindly follow because you've always known this person, right? That's not what it is. Your faith lets you know that they're going to be okay in their being. Your faith lets you know that God has a plan for them as well as you. So when you detach, it's not like you never had to protect that person in the first place, right? You know that there's a plan for them, but that the plan doesn't coincide with your plan. You know what I'm saying? That God has for you. You know what I'm saying? So to walk your path, you're going to be told, you're going to be directed on who can stay and who can go. And when you let go of people, you're not just letting go of people, you're letting go of different energies to let in new energies, right? So you're clearing a path for the new to come in. You're clearing a path for new cycles to come in. You're clearing a path for new lessons to come in, right? If we're learning from each other on this planet. Everybody is valuable. Everybody that comes into your life is a teacher, right? Not just the person on the pulpit, but every single person has God in them. Every single person is teaching you. You're learning from every single person that you meet up with is your teacher. Every single person that you encounter is your teacher. You know. So when that lesson is over, you're making room for new lessons, right? And that person is not just a lesson. We're all valuable in the same sense. You know, we're all valuable. God is using each and every one of us to teach each and every one of us. Each one teach one. You know, so it's all love, and to detach is to detach out of love. It's going to lead to your expansion. It's going to lead to the expansion of that other person. Whether y'all fall out due to an issue or y'all fall out due to a difference of paths or journey, it doesn't matter. The love is still there. You know what I'm saying? And it's a necessity. A lot of times, toxic romantic relationships are glorified because it feels good to our ego to get that instant gratification, right? That person that you feel extremely connected with, but brings nothing but havoc into your life. That person who you feel extremely connected with, but there's violence between the two of you. That person who you feel there's extremely connected with, and y'all have great sex, but y'all cheat on each other and you treat each other terribly. You know what I'm saying? That type of relationship is glorified a lot of the time, and that is just the ego holding on to these toxic cycles because the lesson hasn't been learned yet, right? The ego feels like you need that person, you need somebody there to fulfill you. But that's not true. There's no holes in you, right? So when you let go for better. You let go for what you deserve. And nobody ever deserves to be treated in a toxic manner, you know? Any party, nobody ever deserves that. And once you learn that, you let go of the old and jump into the new, right? You don't deserve unrequited love. No matter how loyal you feel to that person, you're like, no, if that person hasn't shown me love back, then I'm not going to continue to hold myself back in the sense that I'm not going to let new love in, right? And every lesson that we learn leads to an expansion in love, right? So when we detach from things, we're letting go of what we don't deserve. We're letting go of the things that are not love in order to bring in greater love. Period. So when you let go of that person that is toxic, right, and you let go of them in love, and you let them go on their journey, and you go on your journey, you're going to bring in greater love. You're going to bring in what you deserve if you learn that lesson, right? If another person comes along and they're just like the other person that you just let go of, then you haven't learned that lesson, and you're going to go through that same cycle again. But if you learn the lesson and you detach from that energy, you're going to bring in something greater. You're going to bring in a greater love that is for you, right? Because our expansion is in love. So if we continue to love ourselves and detach from the things that are not love, detach from the things that are not conducive to ourselves, to self-love, right? Detach from the things that are not conducive to the expansion of our lives and the growth in our lives, then we're going to, because we're electromagnetic beings, we're going to attract more energy, and that energy is going to be on our frequency, right? You're going to raise your frequency, and then you're going to attach things to yourself that is of that frequency and things that are for you, right? Though that's the lesson. That's the reward from the lesson, is that you're going to bring in the things that are for you. And that's how you realize these energies are not the people, right? If somebody's acting toxic or acting within their ego, that is not the person, that is not them, because these lessons can come in many different forms. When you detach from that energy, you detach from that thing, right? So if you're an empath and you bring in nothing but narcissists, in order to detach from that narcissistic energy, you have to start to love yourself. And you realize it's an energy because you've attracted in many different people, right? These energies are attaching to people, right? It's not who they are. And so you realize that you're fighting entities, energies, right? You're not fighting people, right? These people are not beneath you. These people are of God. We're all being used. We're all being used by God. And the lesson is always to remember who you are and choose you, right? Because you are love. So you always anchor yourself in love. Choose you and choose what you know is meant for you in your life. And detach from the things that are not meant for you. Because that's not love.